Exactly. What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the Quell Jackson episode 52 of the Barking Brown Show. I am your host, Jacob at Roachism13, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Nick Carnes at Carnesies817 on Twitter. Nick, how are we tonight, buddy?
I'm feeling good, Jacob. I got to say, I drove in some inclement conditions this morning, but our guys are in Berea. So it's an exciting time to be a Browns fan.
There is always a little bit to get jazzed about when any sort of Browns anything is going on, in my opinion. I'm trying to get this thing booted up for us here.
I mean, like this feels like the beginning of an era, doesn't it?
Well, it's definitely a changing of the guard, so to speak. I mean, you know, the quarterback position is you know, it's the face of the franchise. So you're sitting there, you're looking at the face of the franchise, and you say, you know, it's different now. It's been the same for 4 years, which was something that we hadn't had prior to that. But here we are, right? And it's changing of the guard, changing of the seasons, all that stuff. So yeah, it's different, man. It's new, several new faces at, you know, the key positions with Amari Cooper coming in. The whole quarterback room's different.
Yeah, that was.
It's a different style of quarterback.
That, you know what? That's probably the best point, right? Is because, you know, obviously they brought in quarterbacks with similar play styles for a purpose, right? So, you know, because people still to this day, I was battling with people about Kevin Stefanski's offense and stuff. And I don't think some people realize we're going to see a very different Kevin Stefanski offense this year. Just because we changed. We have different skills now. So we're going to adapt.
Guys, we are live on Twitch. We are presented by the Faithful Dogs Network. We have made Twitch affiliate. We are so ecstatic to be a part of this, guys. Seriously, I can't believe the overwhelming amount of support and well praises that we've had. We are coming up on 1 year, man. May the 4th be with you and everybody else. That will be the 1 year anniversary of the Bark and Brown Show, and I can't believe it, man. Time has just absolutely flown by. Right after the draft, there we will be sitting there looking, you know, at a year. And so I know Tyler will throw it up here in the comments. Zach or Tyler will throw it up in the comments here in a second. You can subscribe to the page. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to the Faithful Dogs Network with Prime for free. It helps the channel. I'm going to do a hat giveaway at 30 subs. So
wow, look at you.
Let's get to 30 subs, and I'll give away a Brownie the Elf hat of your choice. How about that? Get the channel to 30 subs, and we'll do that. But we're overwhelmingly, you know, we love all of you. We're glad you're here. Mitch is in the comments. That's not it. That was the wrong one. It moved on me. Mitch is in the comment, wants to know about DK Metcalf and the Browns rumors. Could that be going on? We will get to that question, Mitch, here in just a little bit as we get our guest and we get our producer back on here in a second. I want to say what's up to you, R. Brown. What's going on?
As we dig in here, Jacob, because we've got a great guest. We've got Ed's always got fun stuff. But I want to say you're wearing a wonderful shirt from the wonderful people at Zabo Apparel, which is local, veteran-owned. They're out in Vermilion. They have a store. They make tremendous Browns merchandise. And every month we give away a Zabo Apparel shirt, courtesy of them. We raffle all of our Patreon members because we still have and thank you to everyone who supports us in that way. So we're getting towards the end of the month now. So I think we're getting due for another shirt giveaway. So if you haven't, or if you have not considered it yet, we've got links in the link tree. You can go to the Patreon. We give you group chat. We've got extra content for you. We've got lots of fun stuff. And of course, the shirt giveaway. So, I just thank you to Zabo, and thank you for being here for everybody that's been with us, because as we do come up on a year, you know, the people that have been, some of us, right, have stuck around the whole time. That's a hell of a compliment. So thank you.
It is. It's great. We got an active chat going on over here. Tyler has thrown it up in the chat. If you do have Amazon Prime, go to gaming.amazon.com. You can subscribe to our network to get adless viewing on all their other videos, you know, some giveaways and some fun other stuff that's going on for subscribers over at the network. We got a buddy. Hey, we all love the Browns. We're glad that you are here with us tonight, and what's going on. So let's do it, man. Let's launch into this. We got Denzel Ward to talk about. We've got a Jarvis Landry bit of news to talk about, and then we've got our final live mock draft for you guys 9 days out from day one of the draft. So let's get him on here. Ed, what is going on, buddy?
Hey, what's up, guys? Now, I can't believe it's almost been a year that, the Barking Browns have been on. We got a great guest tonight, Mac the Buffalo, who is one of my teammates on Down with the Browns. Who would have thought that, a year ago when I was harassing you guys in the comments, what a fun year it's been. And so we're looking forward to a great show with a great mock draft. And I can't believe the draft's only 9 days away. We talk about it. We go through all the different projections and scenarios and everything, but it's kind of finally come to fruition here. And
it's the payoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to look for a quarterback. It's kind of weird. The Malik Willises and the Bailey Zappies and all that crazy stuff that we were talking about,
right.
Just a couple of weeks ago. So at least that's a little bit nice that we don't have to do that. Also to Berea today, I heard we had some people report to Berea today. And I know it's kind of like North Korea, Berea sometimes when it comes to kind of what they don't leak out in information. But it was nice to see some Browns get to the facility and get some workouts in. And that means football's around the corner. And as we know, it's a Browns town, and let's go, guys.
My favorite, have you seen the video of Andrew Barry pulling up and he's like, happy spring, because it's like snowing and he's pulling up in his Tesla and you're just like, you sexy son of a gun.
Gab pointed out that looked just like the scene from The Office where Michael pulls up in his PT Cruiser and says it's Brittany, bitch.
With the top down, it's Brittany, bitch. I watch The Office every single day. I've already watched it today for what people are wondering about that.
I want to say one thing about Cleveland. Now, I know I've been, taking some flack for saying that they should build a dome in Cleveland and everything, which they should. But after today and what's going on, just build a dome over the whole city. This is getting ridiculous here with the precipitation and the weather in Cleveland. So you guys deserve a spring. I don't know what's going on. In Columbus, it was like the Bahamas today. We were about 43 degrees, but we didn't have all that fun white stuff that you guys had. So,
I was in the middle of the 480 bridge and it started raining on me. And it was not fun to meet today. So, yeah, thanks. It's April 18th, 19th. So, but you know what? Nothing could rain on the parade of the Browns being back in Berea.
Oh, happy 420 to Josh Gordon tomorrow, by the way.
All right, Ed, that's enough. That is enough.
Hey, we love Josh Gordon. That 2013 season was huge.
Hey, it was lots of things. We're gonna bring him on. Co-host of Down with the Browns, our good friend Mac. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, fellas? Happy first day of OTAs. Beautiful weather in Cleveland today. Couldn't even see 5 feet out in front of you with how much snow. Gotta love it. And I do want to just say thank you for having me on again. I've been following you guys since you started a while back, and it's just crazy how I never would have thought back like last summer that I'd be even like doing podcasts. So to even be considered for it and invited on, like, I really appreciate it. And I'm excited.
Yeah, man, we're so excited. We talk quite a bit, Mac, and I know you and I draft wise. I'm excited for your mock in mine, kind of going hand in hand, because I know that we've had a lot of draft conversations via DM and stuff, and we've lined up on a lot of things. So I really want to see, because I know that you said you already have yours prepared. I'm going to do one live. The other two are going to do a group one live, and Mac's going to go, as he goes. Dude, you know what? I've done a podcast for over a year, right? Still not good with words. So it's a thing that you get me on here, and sometimes I'm just like word vomit and all this other thing. I don't like to shit. I don't like to shit and pile on Baker Mayfield. I know I did say I don't like to shit, and then I just left it there. That was weird. But This one always gets me is we get a comment on the Twitch that says, at home with Baker Mayfield, and then we get eviction notice.
Yeah.
It's a little funny. A little bit funny.
Yeah. It's, a chuckle or two.
Ed, is that a new hat?
No, I've only worn this twice, but Jessica in Oklahoma, she has the same exact one, and it drips so hard, the fit's so good, and I'm representing. So hi, Jessica, and we love your support.
You just said drip so hard.
Yeah, no, that's yikes.
I gotta stay young. I gotta, with the kids, no cap. Right? This is a cap, no cap.
I gotta say about Baker, right? Because I got entrenched in some Baker stuff today. And,
oh boy, did you?
Yeah. And you know what? The Browns did their damnedest to just make it about, all the guys coming in, right? They post like the picture of Dobbs, Brissett, Watson. They got Amari Cooper. You're seeing all the Browns come in and they're doing their best, right? They didn't even tweet the guy happy birthday, right? So they're definitely trying to separate themselves from it, and it just will not. You know what? I've reached the point now where I'm just like, this dude needs to get off the team. This dude just, and I understand Browns don't operate that way. I get that, but I'm just so tired of it. I just want to move on. Give him his second chance. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Baker Mayfield anymore. I really, it's just.
Then we're done. Let's not even talk. Let's go to Denzel Ward, guys. Let's talk about Denzel Ward's extension. Let's talk about the Jarvis Landry news, because I've already given my opinion on Jarvis Landry, but there's a little bit of news as it relates to him. Came out about an hour and a half or so ago, and I wanted to ask the roundtable here a little bit about that. But let's talk about Denzel Ward, man. So the numbers got released. I don't know. Did all of you get a chance to see the numbers of the contract? No. Yeah. Okay. So I will. I asked the question and looked down at my phone. So I will read it from, this is from Jack Duffin as part of his piece that he wrote on it. But the point is that it was a current, the Browns have 28.19 million in cap space. That is before getting Austin Hooper's 9.5 post June 1. That's before getting rid of any of Baker Mayfield's money, should they get rid of it, depending on how much they eat. That's before the Dobbs, Day, and Weatherly deals. They have not been released yet, so we don't know where they are. They're probably minimums at worst. This contract extension lowered Denzel Ward's cap hit from $13 million to $5 million.
Jeez.
So he signed Denzel Ward to a massive contract extension and freed up $8 million in cap space this year as a result. His cap hit, it goes up until I think it's 17 next year, then 23, 27, and 24. You're looking at these cap numbers and you're just like, I tweeted it out. From the contract standpoint, Andrew Berry's already elite. Now, some people said, don't forget about Paul DePodesta, and I will give DePodesta his due because he absolutely deserves a ton of credit. And I think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, that brain trust is the brainchild of Paul DePodesta. Somebody just kind of said that to me on Twitter, and I was like, not in those same words, but I'm like, oh my God, I think you're right. I think that DePodesta deserves even more credit because I think these are his guys, and they're all lined up with their contracts. Denzel Ward is the highest paid corner in NFL history, $71 million. Guaranteed. People ask me what I thought about it. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and then we'll go around the corner. We'll start with Mac here in a second. He is a top 10 player. If you have a top 10 player at a position, you do not let him go, period. That's what I think. Mac, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, same here. In this league nowadays, it is a passing league. You have to have a number one corner because you have to take away the number one threat. We saw what happened in Cincinnati. Denzel Ward shut down Jamar Chase. Now, that's something that not many corners in the league, maybe 2 or 3 can say, if that. So you have a guy that can take away a team's best weapon that you're going to see twice a year. To add on top of that, he's a hometown guy, originally from the Cleveland area, played at Ohio State. So people in Northeastern Ohio, really in most of this great state of Ohio, know about Denzel Ward. And it's such a good thing to see an original guy drafted by the team get that extension. He's obviously put in the work. Now, there are some availability concerns. He did miss some games over the past couple seasons, but when he is on the field, he is your best cornerback, and you need that nowadays. And just like how you said, you can't let a guy like him get away. Now, was it a slightly overpay? You could argue that, but also you can't let him leave. It's one of those situations to where you lock the door and he is not leaving until he signs that piece of paper. So I thought it was a great extension. Good thing to see. And definitely we're going to see some more plays from Denzel Ward in the future.
Nick?
So especially now when I feel like when the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, everybody basically universally said, well, okay, he's going to be suspended for some amount of games. The question is just how many. And now we don't even really know if that's the case, right? In 2022, or at all. So I just think you're in a position where, honestly, regardless, but especially if it starts from game one, you're pushing your chips all in the middle, I think, right? Because you got an elite quarterback now. You're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. And I know that sounds weird. And we've said that, like when Odell was traded here, we said, oh, we're Super Bowl contenders. And then after we playoff game, we said, oh, we're Super Bowl contenders. But the biggest difference,
we might be right this time.
Deshaun Watson is verifiably a top 5 quarterback. Okay. It is not, you don't need half a season to say he's a top quarterback. You don't need since week whatever to say he's just verifiably statistically an elite quarterback. So I think that having him on the team, you already have the talent, right? And so there was some argument that the Browns could trade Denzel Ward, sign Stephon Gilmore, who's now signed anyway, but and continue to pick up picks and build. No, I don't think at this point, and obviously Andrew Berry wants to balance the future with the now, but more importantly, to me at least, the Browns are trying to win right now, and Denzel Ward is already great right now. So I don't care if he needs to be the highest paid cornerback in the league, because with the length of his deal, especially by about year 3, that's going to be valuable.
It's actually it's a 3 and a 2. I heard some people talk about it. There's basically an out after like the 3rd or 4th year.
Yeah.
So if something goes south, you know what I mean, from a financial standpoint, like they'll get out of it.
Yeah.
You got a dude who's that good.
Yeah.
What's Mac? You kind of touched on this. What's that message send? Oh, you take care of your guys. When they play and perform, they get taken care of. Ed, what do you think, man? I know you're a graduate of the Ohio State, so I know a little bit about what you think.
In 1870, God formed the greatest university on the face of the planet in Columbus, Ohio. But going into the pro level, let's talk about Denzel Ward now. I'm a guy of the 80s, and when we talk about the Bernie days, but everybody they don't forget, but they overlook it, I think, a little bit, how great that defense was. And that defense was great because you had 2 lockdown corners in Frank Minifield and Hanford Dixon. And with Newsome and now Ward locked up, you have lockdown on the lakefront, and that's where you're going to win games. And it's great that, we have all this high-powered offense and everything like that, but the defense always wins games. That's what DOG stands for. Denzel Ward epitomizes that. Great signing by the Browns, great signing by DePodesta, and everything when it comes to that contract. So I have nothing but nice things to say. OHIO, let's go, guys.
The thing, I just gotta say about Denzel Ward, I can think of multiple games like when the Browns play the Cowboys in 2020. Denzel Ward picks off Dak Prescott, and that whole game changes. I was at a game in 2018 where Denzel Ward picked off Joe Flacco in the red zone and also blocked a field goal, and the Browns won 12-9. I was at that. Like there's very few cornerbacks in the league that can contribute as much to their team winning games as I think Denzel Ward does, and I think that's a really underrated part of who he is as a player. And so I was talking to my uncle, and he was like, well, the Browns had to overpay to get Denzel Ward. And I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, maybe I understand he's the highest paid corner in the league, but that's not going to last long.
No, it's not going to last long at all. He's 24, guys. Don't forget that aspect of it. He's 24 years old right now. All right, let's launch. Guys, I got one quick round table. What you guys think about this? Jarvis Landry is expected to visit the New Orleans Saints tomorrow. Says the Browns are still in the mix. I think if the Browns wanted him back, he'd be back. I'm good. Moving on. Does anybody else have any thoughts about that?
I mean, the Browns still in their position, like wide receiver position group as a whole, they still need a slot receiver. You have Amari Cooper, who's your wide receiver one. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's a perimeter guy. So you still need somebody in the slot. Now Jarvis, of course, he knows this offense. He's familiar with the building. But the money has to make sense. Now you talked about it earlier. The Denzel deal frees up $8 million in cap this year. But I think that because I look at it, there's two huge needs. They need to get Clowney to sign, and they still need one more wide receiver. Everything else is just kind of filler. Now, obviously, I do think that they need to add somebody at defensive tackle. But if you were to get Jarvis, now that frees you up. Instead of another wide receiver, take that edge earlier on. So
take that edge, take that interior.
Yeah. Now, of course, if the deal makes sense and they're not overpaying for Jarvis Landry, I would love to have him back. That kind of leadership in the building is very valuable. But to me right now, the bigger need would be to find Jadeveon Clowney wherever he is. And, if he's somehow listening right now, sign the damn contract, please. It's the first day of OTAs already started, so I don't know what the whole deal is now. Granted, he could still be taking his time, he could still be visiting with other teams, and he has every right to do so. But again, that the edge, the pairing, Myles Garrett needs a running mate. Like we can't just stick him out with. In all honesty, Chase Winovich has put in some time, and he's a very good pass rusher, but full-time edge, can we trust him for 16 games? I'm not sure. So to me, Clowney would be the bigger need. But of course, if the deal makes sense, bring back Juice, of course.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't the Browns sign Takk McKinley before Jadeveon last year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. It feels kind of similar to that right now, where the Browns have Winovich, and you're like, okay, right, but like that's not your edge 2. That's your edge. You feel great about Winovich as edge 3. Sure.
He's 3, maybe he's 4. So like, perfect. Yeah, I think that sums it all perfectly. I think we can let's launch right on into this, man. Let's go. I know Nick and Ed are rearing to go. They thought they lost. Listen, I wanted to real quick, guys, back on the Twitch channel. If you haven't seen already, the Yard Dogs preceded us tonight. They had a wonderful guest. I caught a little bit of their conversation. You guys should go back and watch that. Saturday evening. Ed and oh my goodness, who all was there? Ed, me, you, Zach, and Mikey P from the Yard Dogs. We did our top 5 wide receivers in the draft for the Browns a Saturday on the Twitch. If you guys haven't had an opportunity to look at that, Zach, you kind of echoed what I said here in the comments. I'm starting to feel like the Browns don't care if he's back or not. If the money makes sense, I think they'd be okay with it. Kind of like Max.
Jacob. What makes you guys talk about the making sense and stuff like that? He had $16 million. We basically cut him. He wanted 20. That was the one report. What makes sense? Because we always talk about what makes sense.
6.
So somewhere between the 6 and 8 range. Yeah,
6 to 8.
Single digits.
Not 10, please.
Yeah, 6 to 8 with like 4 or 5 guaranteed.
Yeah.
Jacob, sit on your hands real quick.
Oh boy.
Sky Moore. Let's just go get Sky Moore.
Oh God. He's always making me sit on my hands when I'm getting excited. All right, Mac, we're gonna go with you first, man. We're gonna start here. Mac's already got his prepared, so he's got a little synopsis with each player he's gonna pick, and then Ed and Nick will do. They have the mock that they're gonna go through, and I have a simulator up as well. I believe they're on Pro Football Network. Is that correct?
We are.
And I am on the NFL Mock Draft Database. So take it away, Mac.
Okay, so right out of the gate, I received a trade offer from 44 to 51. I made an additional trade. So right now, the picks that I'm looking at is 51, 78, 99, 103, 118, 124, 223, and sorry, because PFN makes you scroll all the way down. So we are at, I believe it's like 256 or something like that.
Yeah,
so first up, 51, Logan Hall was still there. Now two big things with him, his physical reach, in terms of the offensive defensive line, hand position is key. Now, when you have that kind of length on another human being, you can get into his chest, and when you extend, they cannot reach you, and your bull rush just provides so much of an advantage. Now he also has a killer swim move as well. His flexibility coming around the corner, they did at his pro day was actually pretty impressive considering his frame. The guy's 6'6", 278. So he has that size. Now, he was interviewed at the combine. They asked him, what is your position? Because he, as a defensive tackle at 278, he did get pushed around a bit, and that would be the concern. So he would need to either bulk up for D tackle, slim down for defensive end. But in terms of his tape, he has a lot of good potential. And especially with the question mark at edge, I would rather go Logan Hall just so that way, if Jadeveon Clowney does not sign back, you have an option to pair Miles with a good pass rusher. Now at 78, I did Sky Moore.
We're going to go one by one. We'll go one by one.
One by one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hands on your.
It's okay. He was very enthusiastic, and I loved it. I almost just let him roll through the whole thing. I was like, go for it. I was entrenched. I love a good draft talk guy. Mac, I think you'll. I was talking about this early, being 9 days off. It's like all this payoff. It's kind of relieving and disappointing at the same time that we're about to be at the draft. And I released my final mock write up for Dog Pound Daily this morning, and Logan Hall was the pick at 44, and it just makes too much sense because if you think of a NASCAR package with Jadeveon Clowney, if he's back, Myles Garrett, inside is Logan Hall, and even Taven Bryan is a decent fourth rusher from the interior. That's terrifying. Like that's terrifying to me. All right, guys. So I love that pick. I will say this. I will go last so that I can attempt to be a little bit different, just to add some spice to this situation. So here we will bring up Nick and Ed's board. Yeah. Take it away, gentlemen.
So Ed, I want to play a fun scenario, right? Because we've done a few of these. You and I have teamed up for these. So let's say that everything from here to the draft and free agency goes as terribly for the Browns as possible. So not only do they not get Jadeveon Clowney, but they don't get Will Fuller. So in that scenario, they have gotten neither. Okay. So in that scenario, you're sitting here and you could finish your edge, right? You could take Drake Jackson, or you could attempt to fix your wide receiver position with Jahan Dotson.
He was my number one. If you go back and watch the special Saturday night that we had with us, Dotson was my number one, and he was actually at 37 in a couple of mocks. So if he's there at where we're picking at, it's hard not to. He's a natural slot. What I like about him, he can go to the outside. He's got good leaping ability, and they compare him to like.
It's like, so we've seen the Browns scrunched offense a lot. And so Jahan Dotson helps fix that. Drake Jackson, though, you don't have Jadeveon Clowney, and Chase Winovich is currently your defensive end too. Ed, you're on the hot seat. Which way are you going?
I'm going team sexy. Jahan Dotson.
Team sexy. There it is.
I don't even know what that means.
We're playing sexy, fun football, and we're throwing it, and Jahan Dotson's going to get it. That's where we're at.
I love that Max on my side. He's like, I don't know what that means.
No.
All right.
No idea.
All right, guys, we will bring it up here. Let's stick it up here. We're on the NFL Mock Draft Database. I enjoy it because of the pictures.
Oh, that's nice. That is nice graphics.
I like the pictures. So here we are at 44. You know what's really scary? Ibikadi went 43rd in our mega mock draft Saturday night, like a week and a half ago that we did, because I was watching it back earlier today, and I was like, a lot of these picks. Well, that's interesting. Tyler Smith going at 39. My boy Christian Watson there at 38. Some interesting things there. So I always go edge first. Let's see where it's at. I don't like Nick Bonito. I know that a lot of people like Nick Bonito. I do not like Nick Bonito. I think he struggles to shed blocks. He lets people into his frame too much. He out-athletes people, and I just don't know that translates very well at the next level. So for me, I'm not in on Nick Bonito. Real quick, Tyler says it's to the point where it has to be wide receiver with our first pick. The drop in talent from the second to the third could be steep. It could be, because there's going to be a run on wide receivers.
Tyler on Team Nick Ed Nick. Wow.
Yeah, he's on Team Nick.
Here we are.
Nick.
Nicked.
All right, we're gonna lose all of our viewers if we just sit here trying to figure out how to say that word. But he's right, because here's the thing, though. To Tyler's point, there could be a run on wide receivers that put the Browns in a precarious spot at 44 where there's no one there to take. That's worth 44. Like, look here, I'll see what I have. So I've got Pickens, so that's pretty much a done deal there for me. But like Pickens and Sky Moore could realistically both be gone at 44. Then you're looking at John Mechie. I don't like Mechie at 44. I like him at 78. That's fine. But you're looking at Mechie, Calvin Austin, Wanda. None of these guys here am I going to take at 44. If for some reason it shouldn't happen, if George Pickens is at 44, I think you sprint that card up. And that's from a guy that said, I said the other day, I said on Saturday that Sky Moore was my number one, not George Pickens. But I do not think Sky Moore will be there. I understand he's there in my mock scenario. I just don't think he's going to be there. I think the concerns raised by coaching staffs and stuff like that potentially have George Pickens at 44. And I just think that Pickens learns from Amari Cooper. They can let Amari Cooper walk if they can't sign him for an adequate deal in a couple of years, and Pickens can easily take that role. And so I think if Pickens there, man.
Do you want to feel pretty happy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I fell down a Steelers draft strategy rabbit hole today.
Dude, I thought for a second he was going to say that he fell down a flight of stairs. I was like,
no, but I just sometimes I fall down rabbit holes on Twitter and I can't help myself. So
me too. If you get into like quote tweet wars and you go all the way back and you're like, oh.
Yeah. But Steelers fans are hoping and praying for Mr. Pickens to be there at 52. And you're telling us that he won't even be there at 44, perhaps. So I'm just saying, man.
I can't see that. But that tells you something, right?
Yeah.
That tells you something you should know.
I don't know I'm not sure what they're going to do with Deontay Johnson or any of. They got. You know what? I know we're in the middle of mock draft, but it is delicious how the Browns have all their guys paid for the most part, and all these other teams, Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown and Deontay Johnson and Terry McLaurin and so, all these dudes.
The breaking news that Tyler tweeted was there's this allegedly Deebo Samuel's brother has said, he won't be a 49er.
I saw
that's flying around Twitter right now. I just saw that in one of our group chats. So it's really interesting. All right, Mac, hit us with 78, my friend.
So 78 is Sky Moore for me. He was still available. Now I can see both sides of this. Now, especially like how you said, Jacob, teams might make a run at the position, so he might not be there. But he is also from a small school, Western Kentucky. He does have a smaller frame, 5'10", 195, and he ran a 4.4 140. So it wasn't anything that crazy that jumps out at you at the combine. So there could be some doubts there. Now, when you look at the tape and you dive into the stats, you are going to be blown away. He is a high volume slot guy. You know, he is that, and Ed brought it up earlier, he is that Jarvis Landry that you can get from the draft, and he's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper, a heck of a lot healthier, and he's going to be ready to go. 95 receptions, almost 1,300 yards, 10 TDs, and he led the FBS in 26 broken tackles. So he's the route runner, you know, your underneath slant kind of receiver. So he really fits that mold in terms of what that room needs. And if he's available at 78, it almost feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he destroys what the Browns haven't been able to do in years, and that's beats press man coverage. So that's where he's at his best. All right, guys, let's get your screen back up on here.
I can feel your disdain for our Jahan Dotson start through the screen. But I'm telling you, we took Jahan Dotson, and now now look at where we're at here. We've still got Logan Hall sitting there, which I know obviously isn't an edge rusher, but still, and admittedly, I do not know anything about Mr. Kingsley here. So
Kingsley and Agberry is a one of those big body run stuffing, but also athletic. He's like a Clowney hybrid type situation, which could be something that they're interested in. I like an Agberry a lot if you're going to get him at 78.
Well, we did pass on edge originally, and this is a new thing because obviously Logan Hall's here, which is a good.
I'm going to tell you though, like, because I don't think Logan Hall's there. I understand that he is in this situation. I'm going to tell you though, if you found a way to walk away with Jahan Dotson and Kingsley and Agberry, I'm building a statue.
I mean, selfishly, Ed, I'd really like to make some poems about a guy named Kingsley in Agberry. So can I sell you on getting some edge help?
You know, you got to have a king for the kingdom. So let's get him. Let's roll with him.
You know what? But what Jacob said though, in the fact that he can do a little bit of both in that hybrid role, I mean that screams to me Browns and Andrew Berry and this regime, right? Because obviously versatility is paramount. So you know, on a serious note, I think it makes a lot of sense.
You can never have enough edge. You can never have enough edge help. I mean, you know, one thing about that when the Browns lost to the Broncos back in, 3 out of 4 AFC Championship games, you know, the Browns had Michael Dean Perry, they had stuff up, they had Clay Matthews and stuff. They didn't have the edge rushers to get to John Elway. And I always said we just needed, if we had a Myles Garrett or somebody like that, obviously it would have changed things. But we didn't have enough. Nick, you're right. I like the guy's name. I think you can do a lot in the Twitter world with that name. And I'm excited about Kingsley. So let's bring him along.
And I'll tell you what, I think the Browns are going to average more than like the 17 points a game or whatever it was that they did last year. And so if they're scoring more, if Deshaun Watson is leading them to score more, you're going to be in more advantageous pass rush situations, way more
than the dogs. Than the dogs.
All the more reason.
That's why deceptively in 2020, the Browns were really good against the run. They weren't. They were just up on teams that had to throw against them. But it makes good points. Oh, I gotta put my screen on there before I can actually do anything about it, huh? All right, so we're on the clock here at 78. Wide receivers obviously still selected. That's interesting too. I like Dulcich a lot. Troy Anderson is really fun. I don't think they want a linebacker, but Troy Anderson, like I was listening to it, like he was like a running back, and then he was like a quarterback, and then he was a tight inside linebacker, and then he was an outside linebacker. Like if you really want to see an interesting story about a college player, Troy Anderson from Montana State is really, really intriguing. So I always like to go edge here. I like to look and see what it is. And boy, I don't like that. I am good on Sam Williams. There's a lot going on there. I think it's too early for Alex Wright. Tyreek Smith, it's too early. I'm good on Dominique Robinson. D'Angelo Malone is fun, but all of these guys, like I'm not good there at edge. I'm in a peculiar. Oh, I do not like anything going on here at Deuce.
So things have gone awry.
Let's see. Marcus Jones. I like Marcus Jones. Cam Taylor-Britt's fun. Kirby Joseph, it's a little early there. No, let's see. You know what? We're going to go with Greg Dulcich. We're going to go tight end here. Wow. The Browns need some tight end help. I don't know that they're going to go 78 Dulcich. They've already met with Dulcich, so there is so it may be smoke, but it appears that there is some, interest there. They're going to want – Dulcich is a guy that can play in line and he can play out. He needs plenty of work. But in terms of another weapon and just really loading up for Deshaun Watson, I think Dulcich right here. Based on this board, guys, like there's no one at edge. There's no one at D tackle. I'm not crazy about the corners or the safety. I love Kirby Joseph and Nick Cross-Rowan McKinley, not at 78. I really don't like any of them there. There's nothing I really love at edge. So, I mean, you're looking at the way the board fell, and it's Greg Dulcich for me.
Christian's going to be upset because he's a Wan'Dale Robinson kind of guy from Kentucky.
He is.
So
you know what?
I'm fine with Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm fine with that.
I gotta say, 100%. Shout out to Down with the Browns. The three of us here in this little L were also on Down with the Browns last night. We had a hell of a mock draft season, but Christian's great. Mac, you're awesome. Ed added in a ESPN like reporter persona, and it was.
I have not got to see it. I meant to watch it on lunch. I ended up having to work through lunch today, so my plan was to watch it at lunch today, but I will watch it tomorrow.
Last but not least, shout out to Manny. Love Manny. All those guys are worth a follow. That show is worth your. I retweeted it today. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It was a lot of fun. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and just more great Browns content. If that's what if you need it, it's there for you. I promise you that.
You always need it. Mac, hit us up, man. Where are you? You're still at 99. You haven't got to a new pack. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, I'm still at 99. Now, quickly, I want to say, and not to be a pick-me guy here, but I did come up with the skit for Ed to be the
Really?
Browns Twitter reporter. Yes,
Yeah,
I
Mac.
remember exactly. Now, this was way back when that I had this idea, and I just thought about it because we needed a new segment for the podcast. So I immediately DM'd Ed before I even ran it by Christian or Manny, and I was like, "Hey, is this anything that you would be interested in?" Because I needed a character, so I got Ed, who's the best character around on Browns Twitter, and it was hilarious. I'm glad everybody loved that bit. It was awesome. Ed killed it. Now on to the pick at 99. Put your pitchforks away. I'm gonna make some people mad here. Darian Kennard. He was left here, and, I'm not too sure about the offensive tackle position. I'm really not. I can't remember the last time Jack Conklin played 16 games. Sam Hubbard's coming off of back-to-back season-ending injuries in 2020 and 2021. And Jedrick Willis has had an ankle that's bothered him. Now, granted, I have a little bit more gripes with that player, but you look at a tackle. He's 6'5", or 6'5", 345. If he can play the guard and slide in if you need him to. But really, ideally, you'd like to see him drop a little bit and be that offensive tackle for a team. Now, the question is, can he get his pass rush footwork together? A lot of times that he gets blown, just blown past. Now, the one thing that I really loved seeing from him in the Senior Bowl was his resiliency. Now, you could argue that in terms of being a tackle, you have to have more resiliency than any other position whatsoever, because if you are not on top of your game, your quarterback is not lasting the whole game. So, now, fun stat about him, his career grade was at a 93 per Football Focus, higher than La'el Collins, who's the starting left tackle for the Bengals. They just got him in free agency, Isaiah Wynn, and arguably top 5 pick this year, Evan Neal. So, it just made it like, I hate to keep using the term no brainer, but in terms of, the draft, Andrew Berry is going to pick the best player available, and he was the best player available on the board.
Hey, I don't know, because with Hubbard and those things like that, I'm not sure what they're interested in, but if something like that falls into their lap, I mean, it feels like something that they would absolutely do and consider. All right, guys, you are up at 99.
And what a beautiful board and way things have fallen for us, because we just took ourselves our edge hybrid Ed, and we ended up we started in a place where we were debating, do we take defensive tackle, do we take edge? And look, lo and behold, Logan Hall is still here, and from listening to all the smart people and just in general, I know that Logan Hall is a guy Browns need. And obviously we still are we going to start Taven Bryan and Sheldon Day at the risk of upsetting Mr. Jacob over there? Are we going to start Sheldon Day at defensive tackle? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Sheldon Day is a fine player, but I'm just saying, I think we could do better.
Nick, Logan Hall, I think, and I just want to say one thing to you, Mac. Coming up with your skit or whatever obviously shows that I'm your favorite and that you had dreams about me. Logan Hall's the pick, Nick. Logan Hall is the pick.
I wouldn't put it that way, Ed, but whatever makes you happy, buddy.
It does make me happy. Thank you. It does.
We got a little saucy on Down with the Browns last night, and I feel it's carrying over, and I'm okay with that.
Well, all right, we'll move right on in over here. We'll move into my 99th pick. So like I said, guys, I always start here. looking at it. This is an interesting spot for a guy like Channing Tindall or Troy Anderson if they're there. Again, I just don't think they are looking at linebacker that much. Maybe somewhere on day 3 they might consider that. I like to just jump around, so I always like to go over, make sure, okay, right, we got the tight end, we got the wide receiver. That's where we're at. I got to look edge again. We're starting to get into that spot. I know he's 140th on the board, but one of the most toolsy guys in this draft is Alex Wright. You're looking at a guy I want to bring up his measurables real quick before I say this wrong, because his time at the NFL Combine really showed, the raw tools he's working with. You're not looking at a dude that has a ton of production at UAB. He wasn't really developed at UAB. The same kind of story that we have with Donovan Peoples-Jones. He wasn't really developed at Michigan, but he's 6'5", 271 with 34-inch arms. Like, this is a big, lengthy, strong, powerful dude who can get his arms in the passing lane to knock down passes when that is what needs to be done. He can rush the passer. He's got speed. He's got power. He needs a ton of refinement. But you're looking at a guy at 99 where you're saying, hey, does the guy got what is he a ball of clay that is a strong enough clay to be molded into a very productive player across from Myles Garrett? I think that's exactly what Alex Wright is. So I know they have him ranked a little bit lower. I'm not risking him dropping below 118 because I think this is about the range you're probably going to have to get him. I've seen some people have him skyrocketing into the second round. So if he's there at 99, I think Alex Wright, he has to be the pick. All right, Mac, I know you have a 103 and 115. So hit us with both of them.
Okay. So at 183, now this is a little bit of a reach, but he is a guy that is getting traction as of recent, and that is Jelani Woods, tight end out of Virginia. Mm-hmm. The guy is 6'6", 275, and ran a 4.6 140. Now, I don't want to go out and say this, but you throw on the tape and he looks like the second coming of Gronk, and I know that sounds crazy, and you're looking at it. Oh, okay, this is a guy that didn't even get 600 yards last year, but he also got 8 TDs, and that's 13 yards per catch. Yeah. Guys bounce off of him, and he is just this big human being over the middle, and he is not afraid to get his hands dirty and block. So I think that he would be perfect in an offense where Kevin Stefanski loves his tight ends. He loves his blocking tight ends and his 13 personnel. So it really makes sense. Now, the reason why I'm reaching here is I actually did 2 mock drafts today. I had to restart my first one only because Jelani Woods was not available at 118, and I cannot. It's
he
one
went
of those
in
things
between
where
the two picks.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's going to get a lot more traction, just especially with his frame. The draft is a lot about kind of guys to where they always look for the physical tools. So he's definitely a guy to look for there. Now at 118, I took Wan'Dale Robinson. He was still available. Just to add a little bit more speed to the wide receiver room. Now he's a little bit smaller, 5'8", 178, but he's another high volume slot guy. He has taken some jet sweeps, some handoffs there, 104 receptions, 1,300 yards, 7 TDs. And to me, there's a lot banking on Anthony Schwartz right now in the wide receiver room because he is the only guy that can really take the top off the defense. Not saying that Amari Cooper isn't fast, and not saying that Donovan Peoples-Jones doesn't have that top end gear when he gets going, because he does. But to add a little bit more speed to the wide receiver room, I think would be a good option, especially him on the board still at 118. Definitely have to snag him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. All right, boys. Let's jump over to your pick, 103 or 118, wherever you guys are at. What'd you do? Oh, okay. I was confused. Nick, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
Okay.
There's a lot of fun stuff here because the way the draft has fallen, obviously we took Jahan Dotson, so that kind of, with the guys that are sitting here in Calvin Austin and Wan'Dale Robinson, who are both 5'8", and we already took Jahan Dotson, and now I'm kind of sad because especially for Christian and Wandale Robinson there.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a situation where, Ed, you could draft another wide receiver, but I still feel okay about Anthony Schwartz. What do you think about Anthony Schwartz, Ed?
And I feel the same way. I feel like if we would have got maybe like a George Pickens or somebody at with the first pick instead of Dotson, then maybe you could go Robinson or something if you wanted to get two receivers, something different kind of. Mm-hmm. But since you're kind of like you're getting the same here, what do we got like maybe in the secondary, like safety? What's their best? You know what I'm saying, or something like that. Maybe
that's kind of where I was looking. I know that Brian Cook was formerly a cornerback, and I mean, like Ronnie Harrison is a fine signing at the price he's at, but I don't think that that he's like a long-term answer. So, and I obviously you drafted Richard LeCounte last year, but I think if you're in a position like this as Andrew Berry, it makes more sense to tackle positions that maybe you have more questions at, or just like a lack of depth, right? Because once the Browns draft another wide receiver, I think you're in a pretty good shape overall. So to me, I feel like drafting a safety in Brian Cook, who could potentially be a guy that gives you 4 years, 4+ years, makes a lot of sense to me. With because Ronnie Harrison, could Ronnie Harrison be good like he was 2 years ago? Absolutely, but could he be bad? Could not bad. I don't want to say Ronnie Harrison is bad, but could he maybe not be up to what you'd hope for, right? So I think giving yourself another shot with a safety makes a lot of sense here. It feels like an Andrew Berry type of situation to me. So how do you feel about Brian Cook, Ed?
Shout out to Ross and the Dog Chug with Andy and Roger. Be on there 10 o'clock tomorrow. But Brian Cook from Cincinnati, where they got fictitious, like a Liger, you got a Bearcat. Makes sense to me. Yeah. Brian Cook's our guy.
Christian. But Brian Cook, Cincinnati, Cincinnati's in Kentucky too. We're taking Brian Cook.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good.
Solid.
All right.
Solid.
All right. Here we are. We're over here for pick 118 for myself. I'm looking at the top. You've got tight ends up here. I'm like, yeah, I'm not worried about a running back going on here. A lot of really good. They're all just some really good running backs. The running backs just haven't gone off the board in mine, I guess. So I'll look at safety as well. Yeah, I ain't got nothing going on. JT Woods is really fun, but not at 118, although he's probably gone by the time I come back on the board at 202. We'll look here. Here's a guy, I think, again, there's another guy that I think is way too low, and that's Otito Ogbonnaya. I think that he is the perfect – in my scenario, I don't have an interior of any sort. I've got the edge. I've got the tight end. I've got the wide receiver. There's not a ton of depth at defensive tackle. There's not very many really well-rounded players, but Otito Ogbonnaya is a guy at 6'4", 324. Yep, a big, immovable object to clog the rush lanes, and that's all I need him to be. I don't need him to be anything else, and it's good because he's not a whole lot of anything else. But he is big, can clog the run lane, and I think he's a great fit here at 118. I'm just saying, just clog up that interior.
Got a fun name too.
Yeah, do you remember Chris Ogbonnaya? That's how I know
Chris Ogbonnaya, running back. Yeah,
that's the only reason I know how to say it. I assume that's his name, and the only reason I would know how to say it is because of Chris Ogbonnaya, the running back. All right, Mac, what do you got? Do you have any additional picks anymore?
So right now I'm at 124. Now I did a bad job with notation in terms of my next two picks, so I have to double check the numbers for that one. But this next pick is 124. Now Alex Wright was still on the board here. So another no-brainer for me. 6'5", 271. Now, Jacob, I would argue that for his snaps, he was very productive stat-wise.
Yeah.
7.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 pass deflections. So, as a now, and like you said, he's still coming into his own, right? He had a decent.
He doesn't know how to play with his length. He doesn't understand his length. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys to where he grew in college, so he's still growing into his body, right? Now he was, even with all that being said, with the limited reps and kind of just not being as a refined player. He was still second team all conference USA as a junior. So, now perfect play that I saw of Alex Wright to describe that kind of player. He blew past the left tackle. He was actually playing Liberty that game, and Malik Willis ducked down right under him and went right past him. So, he has that athletic ability, and he can definitely be productive. Now he's just got to refine the little things, right? Hand placement, playing under control, things of that nature. But at 124, you got a little bit more depth at edge, right outside of Myles Garrett and Chase Winovich. So I really like going Alex right there. I thought it was interesting that you took him earlier, but it's kind of weird just to see how all these guys fall in the mock drafts, because it almost feels like a lot of these times they're not going to be available, but if he's at 124, take him.
Yeah, if you made the moves that you've made, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey.
Yeah, he's still there, right?
This is also there. It's like, oh, well, all right. Well, sign me right on up. All right, guys, gentlemen, let's get you into your 6th round pick here.
Okay. So I have something that touches Ed and I significantly, because Mr. Tyreek Smith is A, an Ohio State alum, and B, from Cleveland. Okay. And like Ed said, you can never have too many edge rushers. I think Tyreek Smith is obviously here because he needs to continue to build and develop, right? And so when you're in a situation where we already have taken, sorry, because I got to scroll all the way up here. We took Mr. Kingsley and
Nagberry.
I don't know how I've listened to so much draft stuff and I don't know anything about not anything, but obviously. So, but I think that Tyreek Smith and loading up on edge makes sense. And especially like you got the feel good story along with the fact that, I mean, it's a need, right? Because we don't really know, aside from Myles Garrett, the future of the edge position on the Cleveland Browns, right? So Ed, would you like to select Mr. Tyreek Smith?
I would. There's only one thing I want to check. I want to check if my guy from Kentucky, offensive guard, Luke, whatever his name is. I like that guy, Luke
Fortner.
Yeah, Fortner. If he's not available, then we're going to pull the trigger.
I think we have lost Mr. Fortner.
We have lost him. Then you know what? The Ohio State University will be represented. A Clevelander will be represented, just like myself. And I think that's the guy, Nick. Let's pull the trigger.
I'm good with that.
I just had to check that one Kentucky Wildcat, and I like the offensive line versatility that he presents. But that's
Absolutely.
our guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So 202 for me is almost always in all of my mocks. Sometimes I've gone earlier with Nick Cross before not being so sold on a safety because of the re-signing with Ronnie Harrison. I got 2 guys I love a lot. I love Smoke Monday and I love Dane Belton. And the thing, it's a really hard one for me to go back and forth because both are great choices here. Smoke Monday is of the Ronnie Harrison style, the big, tall, lengthy, can play in the box. He has either 3 or 4 career interceptions, and I know the last 3 interceptions he has had, he's all housed them. He's got like 3 pick sixes at Auburn. So like as soon as you turn the tape on, that's what you see is the pick sixes, and he's got really great length and size, and he's a lot of fun. Dane Belton, however, is a hybrid. He has played corner and he has played safety, and he will hit you in the mouth. And I love, as much as I love being able to say Smoke Monday, Dane Belton, man, like there's some guys, Marcus Harvey's one of them that has really turned me on to Dane Belton. He's been talking up Dane Belton and JT Woods quite a bit. And I started watching a bunch of Dane Belton tape, and this is a really great spot for a dude that literally plays all the DB spots. You lost MJ Stewart, who could play the slot in free. Well, guess what? Dane Belton can do that, and he's going to hit you harder than MJ Stewart's going to do. So I'm going to go in the Big Ten. I'm going to stay with Dane Belton, the safety out of Iowa here at pick 202. So a lot of really fun names on day 3 of this draft. This is a good name draft. I love it. It's a really great name draft. All right, Mac, what you got for us, man?
Okay, so I got 2 7th round picks here from the trades that I did. Now the second 7th round, for the life of me, I can't pull this number up. But at 236, I took Cade York, kicker out of LSU. Now for this, I know it sounds crazy drafting a kicker, but Chase McLaughlin needs to have some kind of competition in camp. Now, whether that's free agency or somebody in the draft, there needs to be a kicking competition because iron sharpens iron, and you're going to get the best player if 2 come in and 1 come out. So looking at him, he has not missed an extra point last year. He was 83% from field goal, did not miss inside of 40 yards, and was 4 for 5 from 50 plus. Now, the reason why he's still available in the 7th round, 5 for 10 in between 40 and 49 yards. So it's going to be interesting because he's a Southern guy. Now, I really liked Cameron Dicker, but he was not available. So I chose Cade York. But both those guys from the South, it's going to be really interesting to see if they can kick in Cleveland. Now, granted, not a lot of people outside of Luke Groza and Phil Dawson can kick in Cleveland. So definitely just went kicker this route. And then I took the linebacker out of North Carolina, Jeremiah, I believe it's Gemmel. Now, excuse me, I butcher his last name here. But I just took that. He was the best linebacker left on the board for depth, just considering Anthony Walker, Jacob Phillips, Tony Fields, and JOK all missed time with injury. So just another linebacker to add there.
I'm sorry, I got side note. Our good friend Connor got packed up by Benjamin Albright and is celebrating it.
Oh no!
So if you guys are looking for some fun on Twitter, there's that.
Can I ask a question about kicking? Like when we talk about like extra points in college, I mean, it's not as far as the NFL, is it?
I think it is.
I think it's now for
they have
3 yards. If it's, hold on.
I mean, all I know is that the dude doesn't miss extra points.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He has not missed one. Hold on.
That's fair enough. I just didn't know if it was like.
Are those were your last 2 picks, correct, Mac?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
3 yard line. So I misspoke there. It's yes. So it's from the 3 yard line here.
So it's
yeah, it's a gimme. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. When they do that, he hasn't missed an extra point. I mean, in the NFL, those extra points are not chip shots anymore.
Well, yeah.
Now you would argue, Ed, that inside 40 yards he did not miss a kick.
That's what I think. That's a better stat to bring up. Exactly.
Yeah. You compile those 2 together and you go, yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
All right, Nick, Ed, guys go ahead and hit both of your 7th round picks here.
Okay. So Ed, you know what, and Mac, I think you have the right idea, right? Because the Browns just on special teams have been abysmal. And so as we sit here and we're looking at the board, I think it makes sense, Ed, to look at special teams. And if we're looking at this, and we're sitting at 223. Now, I just want to say that Cade York has made a 57-yard field goal against Florida to win.
Yep.
Florida. And he has made, but my point in saying that is we know verifiably that he can make long kicks. I know, obviously, he went to LSU, and that's not kicking in the cold, as Mac was talking about. But I just think that, you know what? If there were better kickers readily available in the NFL, obviously the Browns would have picked him up, and they haven't had a whole lot of luck with that. So I think we're kind of in a situation where we need to take a kicker. I think we're there, Ed. And so if you'll back me up here, I would like to take Mr. York.
Evan McPherson went to Florida State or whatever. Florida had no problem kicking. So after seeing the Bengals' success this past year, him going 20 for 20 in the postseason with extra points and field goals, Nick,
Crazy.
Run that sucker up there. Cade York, LSU, no problem.
Hold on, before you guys make your next pick, MC's got a question for Ed.
You know what it is? I know. I said, look, I love me some me, and I'm the hardest working guy. But I'll tell you what, it's the people I work with, and the Barking Browns. I love you guys, Dog Chug, and down with the Browns. It's the people I work with.
Okay, yeah, I was waiting for that, Ed.
So, yep.
He's just ready. Mac's just ready. He's like ready to strike. Guys, hit us with your last one.
You know what? I I've seen some speculation about what's going to happen with his name escapes me right now. Oh my God, what is the Demetric Felton? Demetric Felton. I've seen some speculation about what's going to happen with Demetric Felton, and it kind of looks like Dearness Johnson's coming back. So maybe a running back isn't our option here. I don't believe we've taken a linebacker in this draft. And that could be a place that we want to go. But Ed, I want to give it up to you in this way. Excuse me. What position are you, okay, so obviously we're in the 7th round. But what position are you saying, okay, we need more of that, Ed? What do you think?
The reason I kind of like what you said about linebacker, and here's why. Because with a linebacker, I want a guy that I don't know about Taki lost Mac Wilson, but I want a guy that can play some special teams as well. As linebacker. So I like that position. So let's look at linebackers for the heck of it.
All right. Let's go defense here. We'll go linebackers.
Yeah, I like
Mitch, I see your question. We'll answer it as soon as we finish these drafts.
I think I'm honestly not sure how to pronounce our linebacker's name here, but I think he's from USC, and they need
Clay Matthews went to USC.
Well, there you go. I'm gonna pull the trigger on a linebacker, Ed, and we're gonna see if he's gonna contribute on some special teams, and maybe in the future he'll contribute as our linebacker.
I totally agree with that because it's a 7th round pick. I mean, some of these guys won't even make the team or whatever like that. So you can get production, especially in special teams, which it's been the unspecial teams in Cleveland for how long now? So yeah, we need somebody.
I think we had a good time. We got ourselves a wide receiver. We got 2 edges. We got a safety, a defensive tackle.
It's a perfect draft, Nick. It's a perfect draft.
I feel good about it.
It's all right.
Look, Jake, a hater over there.
Hater.
He's so red. All right, let's go here, guys. We're at 223. Let's see where we are at the top of the board. We're in the 7th. I start looking at the best player available. I'm not sure. I could take a tackle here. I could take a running back. Let's see what I got at running back because I always like to look at. I like DeJean Dixon here. I like him a little bit. Isaiah Weston's a good name. Jalen Naylor's fun.
Charleston Rambo, what a name!
It's a great name. It's a great name.
Does Master Teague get drafted at all? Master Teague.
I doubt it. I don't know where he's at on this board.
I'm just curious. He's
there he is. 339, yeah.
Oh wow.
Why is he so? I mean, is he just not? He's just
really a north and south runner. He can't cut at all. He cannot cut at all.
Yeah, man. Give me Cade York for all the reasons.
There it is. Do it.
So we'll get Cade York. We'll run it down here, and there's a guy I really, really like here at the end. You're just trying to get athletes at this point. Chris Steele. Chris Steele is on checks all of the boxes as far as age guardrails, athletic profile, things like that. Can play some special teams, some things like that. He's a fun athlete. Never have enough defensive backs. I know I took Dane Belton, but I'll take Chris Steele here. We'll run it up, man, and we'll look at it here at the winning draft. George Pickens, Greg Dulcich, Alex Wright, Atito Ogbonnaya, Dane Belton, Cade York, Chris Steele. So little balance there from me, offense and defense there, trying to balance it up real quick. Guys, we got just a little bit of time before we get out of here. We do want to mention tomorrow, 8 or 8:30 here on the Twitch, it will be the Faithful Dogs podcast. They have, what is her name? It is missing me. She's the reporter for Sheena, the reporter for the Carolina Panthers. As a guest to talk about the Panthers' interest in Baker Mayfield. So you do not want to miss that tomorrow night here on the Twitch about 8 or 8:30. They'll put it out. Mitch wants to know about the DK to the Browns speculation. I don't think it's real. You don't have the ammunition. You can't pay. I don't think you want to pay him. Just like I just don't think they have the ammunition for Debo. I don't think they have the Sheena Quick. I couldn't remember her last name. It's Sheena Quick. She'll be on tomorrow. I don't think you have the ammunition. I don't think you have the money. Well, you got the money. Andrew Berry can. I shouldn't say that. Andrew Berry can figure out the money. Mm-hmm. You don't have any ones for years, and I was so shocked by the Deshaun Watson thing. I get it because he's a 26-year-old quarterback in his prime. You don't get those opportunities, and that's why he traded the capital that he did. I was shocked by that amount of draft capital given up by Andrew Berry to begin with. I don't see him being able to part with whatever it would to go past that. So I just don't think it's realistic, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's now. I think it's crazy when everybody looks at the Seattle and the possible fire sale, right, with them trading Russell Wilson. So everybody immediately thought, okay, pieces are going to start going around them, and they're in rebuild mode. Now, when looking at the wide receiver room in terms of, okay, so what can we give up for this guy? How much do we have to pay him? And what kind of fit would he bring to the team? Tyler Lockett just seems like a better answer than DK Metcalf.
Yes.
He's gonna be cheaper. He's only guaranteed what, $8 or $9 million next year.
It's actually a really good.
Yeah. It's a really good contract. You're not going to have to give up much for him, and you have your slot receiver who can take the top off the defense. Now, granted, DK Metcalf is a very special player. He's huge, runs a 4.3 40, and can stretch the field as well. But he's, again, a perimeter receiver. You need to be able to have some guy that can run inside the hash marks here. And Tyler Lockett has been one of the, now sneakily, but he's been one of the best deep ball wide receivers in the league. So to me, if we're going to Seattle in terms of like a wide receiver trade, it's got to be Tyler Lockett over DK Metcalf. Now, DK Metcalf's the more flashier name, but sure, Tyler Lockett makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, Lockett's been so good with Russell Wilson for a while, and I think as passers, there's a lot of parallels between Watson and Wilson. And just in terms of their accuracy and the way they have been able to utilize receivers. So, yes, obviously DK Metcalf is the dream, but when you've just given up so many picks, it would make a lot more sense to me personally to give up less picks and get the guy that is a better fit for what you need now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see here. A question about Matt Araiza. Listen, I think that if they had a 5th round pick, they could get Matt Araiza because I think that's where he goes. He's probably going late 4, early 5, and I don't think they would go punter at 118. Now, if they trade back from 44 or 78 or 99, they pick up like a 120, 130, something like that. They've had him in for a visit. Like, that's happened. There is legitimate interest. I'm just not sure where their draft position lines up with his draft position. Like his draft position and their position. I don't think it drafts. It lines up.
My take on kickers is this. Like, I know everybody's in love with the punt god, as they call him. But, the punter that we got, he's pretty good. But to me, it's like this. Cade York, I would rather take him or a place kicker, because at the end of the game, when you need to make that 55-yard kick or whatever like that, I need a guy that can make it. I understand the field position and things like that. But to me, I don't understand the NFL when it comes to, how they don't put a premium on place kickers, because these games, as we saw in the playoffs, are so close that if you have a weapon like Justin Tucker in Baltimore or you can get them, or look what the Bengals have with why wouldn't you take that? I mean, instead of drafting a guy that might not even make your team. It makes no sense to me.
It was probably the closest
I 100%
set of
agree
playoff
with
games there's ever been. Honestly.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Mac agrees with me.
Yeah, no. So it's just because when you look at punters can lose you games, right? Now you would argue the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Rams, to where a punter could be one of your best players of the game. But kickers win you games. Punters really only lose you games in the instance of Jamie Gillen when he drops a snap. But that's more of on an operational standpoint. So yeah, you want the kicker to win those close games for you. And in terms of a punter, they picked up Colquitt, who's 39 years old mid-season, and he was pretty good. Now up until he accidentally kicked the turf and injured himself. But now typical Browns fashion, am I right?
Yeah.
But you can find a good, serviceable in terms of operations punter on the free agent market. Now kickers are a dime a dozen. So I'd rather, just like Ed said, I'd rather them go place kicker than punter.
Yeah. No,
guys, I wanted to do this before I did disservice, but Browns After Dark with Eric Metcalf is going on right now over on Twitter Spaces. Yeah. So I think we're gonna have to wrap this bad boy up and put a bow on it because I love Eric Metcalf and I think I would like to hop on over there and hear some of that conversation, guys. I'll send it to you, Nick, to tell us out of here real quick. But thank you so much for making us Twitch affiliates. Please follow, subscribe if you can. Subscribe with Amazon Prime. It's free, but it helps the channel, helps us continue to grow and make great content. Confirmed this weekend, FDN weekend exclusive Sunday. We will sit down with the OBR's Jack Duffin. Mm-hmm. So, Nick,
we're very excited about that. It's going to be a good one. Jack's great and knows more about the cap than anybody else I know. So I've learned a lot about just all of that. And
I DM him so much. He's probably like, oh my God.
But I just, you know what, and Mac, I want to turn it over to you because we really appreciate you joining us. And you know, more importantly, it's like, if you don't follow Mac, you need to. So Mac, if you want to tell him where to find you and all that you do, feel free, man.
So other way, sorry. Bottom left-hand corner here, at the Buffalo on Twitter. Now you can find us Down with the Brown podcast. Christian has done a great job putting our podcast literally everywhere on Linktree. Apple Music, Spotify. We have several Facebook pages. So go ahead, follow us on there. Now I will be doing a little bit more writing on my blog, Cleveland Stampede. I've been trying to get back into it. It's been a little crazy, especially with the addition of the podcast, trying to get some content out there. But I do want to say here before we end this, again, thank you guys so much for bringing me on. I never would have thought a year ago that I'd be doing these podcasts, let alone with you guys. Because in terms of like small, and I'm not just saying this to say this, but you guys in terms of the smaller podcasts were the first ones that I started listening to, and the first ones that I actually started hopping in and interacting with. And you guys did a great job from the start in terms of like asking questions or answering questions and going through the comments. So I think you guys have done a great job, and especially now with being on Twitch here and being an affiliate. So hats off to you guys. And again, I really do appreciate you considering me because I still view myself as, one of the smaller guys out there. So the fact that you guys, gave me some time here today is great. And thanks again.
Absolutely. Seriously, man, words like it's why we do it, man. I can't begin to tell you how awesome it is to hear.
Mac's my favorite.
Oh, there we go. We finally got it out of him. Mac, seriously, man, thank you so much. Nick, final words and get us out of here.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know there are a million different Browns content creations that you could be at right now. So everybody that's joined us, it means the world. Jacob always says the most valuable thing you can give to someone is your time, and I just want to echo that because it's true. And especially with Browns fever now, there's literally infinite. But as Jacob said, Browns After Dark, Eric Metcalf, lots of great stuff. So in interest of that, this has been the Quell Jackson episode of the Barking Brown Show presented by the Faithful Dog Network. I'm Nick. He's Ed. That's Jacob. And he's Mac the Buffalo. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.